We come this morning to Nehemiah chapter 2, 1 to 8. Nehemiah goes before the king. It came to pass in the month Nisan, in the 12th year of Artaxerxes the king. What? You got it?
20th. The 20th year. Not 12.
20th. Okay. I have brought out word 20th. That wine was before him, and I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been before sad in his presence. Wherefore the king said unto me, Why is thy countenance sad, seeing thou art not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very sore afraid. And said to the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad in the city, the place of my father's sepulchres lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? Then the king said unto me, For what dost thou make request? So I prayed to the God of heaven. And I said unto the king, If it please the king, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may rebuild it. The king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, For how long shall thy journey be? And when wilt thou return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. Moreover, I said unto the king, If it please the king, let letters be given me to the governors beyond the river, that they may convey me over till I come into Judah. And a letter unto Esther, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the palace, which pertaineth to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me according to the good hand of my God upon me. I looked at this passage and decided it would make a great movie or play. The introduction we already saw, he was praying for 40 days, and you can just hear the music going while he's praying, right? And see the sun fade and darkness come, and the sun come back out the next day. Well, they set the pattern for this. But it has three main acts, being the three questions that are asked and the answers, with a cut to the book of Esther when it talks about the queen. So, first thing we need to do is identify the cast, because you know how these things go through and tell you that so-and-so is playing such and such a role, or it says this king who reigned from such and such a time and such a time, you know. So there's the king that's involved here, the queen, and the cupbearer slave. Only three people in this whole movie, this whole play. Stedman, who is a great Bible scholar, I think, and wrote an interesting thing about this. Neither Artaxerxes or Ahasuerus are the names of this king. That is what's so confusing. They are really titles. Artaxerxes means the great king. Ahasuerus means the vulnerable father. These were not the king's given names. It may or may not be helpful to know that this Artaxerxes and Ahasuerus was also Darius, the Mede, in the book of Daniel. And then to add to the confusion, Artaxerxes in the book of Nehemiah is not the same Artaxerxes in the book of Ezra. Do I have you thoroughly confused? Remember, we're looking at titles, we're not looking at who they people were. There's a great Jewish believer, William Struse, the follower of the Bible's Jewish Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus. He writes concerning this, Yahweh, the living God of the Bible, used the Persian king Darius to prepare the way of the coming of Israel and the world's promised Redeemer. The biblical authors of Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther used the Medo-Persian administrative titles Ahasuerus and Artaxerxes to describe the Persian king Darius I and others. Long before those titles were taken, he had a couple, I corrected one, I missed it, should be taken, as throne names by his descendants in the decades that followed. And what this does, it starts the clock of Daniel 9, 24 to 27, with a decree to rebuild the walls. And now we introduce the clock. We come to a room where the king and queen are lounging, and in comes this cupbearer servant with wine and serves the king. Nehemiah was not a happy-looking fellow. But this was not his normal custom. All these days he'd been praying in the introduction to this movie, when he came before the king, he always was happy. But the day he comes in, he's sad. So here we have the king asking his first question. Why are you sad? You're not sick. Looks like you just have heaviness of heart. What's wrong? Here's Nehemiah. Oh, no. He said he's exceedingly afraid. Oh, no. I never did this before. I'm in trouble now. Oh, well, here goes nothing. He kills me, because after all, I'm a slave. My people are in trouble in the city, and it's in bad shape. The walls are all tore down and burned, just like the Canaanite left it all. It really upsets me. Well, tell me there, slave, what is it you really want? You got to remember, this Darius was not a gentle man. He's a very abrupt and very angry. If things didn't go the way Darius said it was to go, off with their heads. What was the reaction now? Pray to the God of heaven. I think this is one of the shortest prayers in the Bible, along with Peter's prayer of help. I don't think he went through the things he went through when he prayed in chapter 1, with a lot of nice titles and all that. I think that relationship was so good for Nehemiah, his reaction was simply this. Woo, why? You're God, you got me into this mess. Get me out of it. If it was even that long. If it pleases you, notice his honor to the king here, even though he knew, this might be, that's it. If it pleases you, send me to Jerusalem. And now you see the plot really thickens. Because that verse says, the queen was sitting also beside. There's an unrecorded discussion between the king and queen that goes on here. One thing I've always noticed about the Word of God, it always understates things, it never overstates them. And I think it's one of the most understated statements in the whole book of Nehemiah. Well, who is this queen? Flashback by the queen. You know, all movies have flashbacks, right? The 13 years prior to this time, when they're sitting there getting ready to have a glass of wine, Esther chapter 2, verses 16. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house royal the 10th month, which is the month of Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign. This is the 20th year we're talking about now. This is the 7th year. This flashback was 13 years ago. She flashed back to 13 years prior to this. And she knew this. Well, in case you want to know what Tebet is, it's January. It was cold. Now, I had to find, I couldn't get an exact definition. It says probably a Persian origin. Denoting the cold time of the year used by the later Jews as during the 10th month of the year. Assyrian Tebet means rainy month. Can't say snow in Palestine. Up in the mountains in Judah. But it was January, the rain, the month of rain. The king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. She knew what her position was at this time when Nehemiah came in and asked to be sent to Jerusalem. She knew that she could talk to the king and he would listen to her. And why? Because remember what happened in the book of Esther? A plot came to kill all the Jews. And because he loved her so much, she went and pleaded the Jews' case, and he gave her the desire of her heart. 13 years that desire of her heart has been being met as she served her king as his queen. And as they sat there, they had this discussion. Can you hear it now? Can you make it up yourself? By the way, this is just a made-up discussion because I don't know what they really said. Hey, honey, send him away. We got other people who can wait on us while he's gone. Remember, I'm Jewish too. Remember how you love the Jewish people? Remember how you commanded they rebuild the city? And now, here it is, years later, you're in charge now. Not Cyrus, the Persian, but the law of the Medes and the Persians is still there. If you say it, it has to happen. Give him the word, and it'll happen. You'll get the credit for it. You see her building up to the king? The only statement we have as we go back to the meeting is, how long are we going to be gone? And Nehemiah sets the time. Now, think about this for a minute. Those 40 months, or 4 months that he was praying, he definitely was putting together a plan. Because how long are you going to be gone? He knew he was on good ground now. I don't think he was fearful anymore. I think that he knew God was answering his prayer. And very boldly, he set the time. According to chapter 13, verse 6, he returned to Artaxerxes in Babylon the 32nd year. That's 12 years after he was there to go. Right? Now, if you went to your boss, and we not even a king, and you told him you wanted 12 years off for a mission trip, what would he tell you? have fun with your fire, right? No. Darius loved his queen. He also had great respect for his cupbearer. He wanted him back. Can you hear the conversation between the king and queen now? After all, king, it's 80 miles through the desert to get there and the place is a mess. You expect me to go there this week and be back by Monday? Well, how long will you be gone? 12 years. But now he makes some requests. And again, it's based upon, and king, if it's your pleasure. He wasn't demanding, he was asking. I would like to have some safe travel permits. Because I got to go through some very bad country when I get there. And I'm not so sure that all your princes in those countries, and those people you got in charge, really want to see another caravan of Jewish people heading through their territory. I need safe travel permits. In fact, in order to be safe, I'm going to need some security guards. It wouldn't be enough just to have a piece of paper to show to people. I want some strength around me that lets them know that I'm coming from you. I have your authority to be here, to pass through this land. And since you're the king, they can't question your authority. Like I said, we just get a little smidgen of conversation. And then the top of all off, he said, I want you to also talk to your chief person who's in charge of your forest. And give me permission to cut wood out of your forest for beams for the gates of the palace, for the walls, for the doors, including the house where I'm going to live. And you see the king kind of scratching his head and saying, man, you know what you're asking? You're asking to destroy the ecology. How much, that's going to be a lot of wood. You're asking for wood for the gates of the palace. You're asking for beams for the walls and doors of the house. Where you're, man, you know what? I've got to send a caravan with you just to carry that stuff. We don't have that, I'll call that conversation, no do. The king granted it. And notice who Nehemiah now thanks for it. Thank you, king, for all your generosity. Thank you for the good hand of my God upon me. Here we come to something which we need to really learn a lesson for about prayer. We can ask God for many things, but how often do we stop and thank Him for the answers He gives us? Back in 1958, we'll go back a while, I went to summer school at Moody Bible Institute. And during summer school, I had the occasion to preach at 3 or 4 of the different rescue missions in town. And I gathered my group around me before we left and we prayed. And after the meeting was over and we'd had some results, some good results, I had people make decisions to the Lord that were valid. I also had an interesting one. A guy come up and wanted to go through the whole plan of salvation. We got through the whole plan of salvation, and when we said amen, he said, now can I have a pair of pants? But I said, you know what? We need to go back to the room where we prayed before we came and thank God. Now that whole team, only one other person joined me. And if we have anything that challenges us today, is, are we indeed thankful for all the great things God has done? We sang about the great things he's done for me. Great is thy faithfulness. Just keep trusting the Lord, but do we keep thanking the Lord day by day, hour by hour, for all the great things he has done for us? Take time to thank God for answers to your prayers. We have a time in the church every Sunday when we make our requests known. One of these Sundays I'm going to turn that around and say, no request today, only thanks. And I'm not going to wait for Thanksgiving to come either. But just to let you know that that's coming. Our next message, Nehemiah travels to Jerusalem. It's all said in 3 verses, but it took a long time to do all this. So I get to continue to speculate or expand, however you want to look at it. The great things God's doing for Nehemiah as he prepares and as he travels to rebuild the walls of the city.